From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. So, the other night, I watched on television Singin' in the Rain, the classic movie musical. Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor. It was on my local PBS affiliate here in Milwaukee. They, on occasion, will run classic movies, of course, uninterrupted. So, I enjoyed that. I've seen it several times. I thought, well, okay, I haven't seen it for a while. And as I'm watching, something really just came over me while watching that movie. I was remembering a time in my life when I was discovering great movies, and especially movie musicals, stage musicals. And shortly after that first discovery, I can't tell you detail as far as the first one I saw, or the first time I saw Singin' in the Rain. I can't tell you exactly, but I know it was the discovery was followed quickly by becoming involved in community theater and doing stage musicals, and then quickly after that, professional theater, and all the while still seeing all these great movies for the first time. And, my circle of friends were into the same thing, and it was just a really exciting time. And my girlfriends at the time, we sang and we danced together, and we made recordings, and we choreographed each other's shows, and it was just such an exciting time. And we all shared this same passion. And as I'm watching Singin' in the Rain, all of this feeling, more than just memory, this feeling starts sort of flooding back. Because we did share this passion, and that's what it is really. It's a passion. And that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm talking about. Passion. Something, when you discover something and you love it so much that it's not just that you want to be a part of it. You want it to be a part of you, to become part of your identity, right? And to let other people see it in you. It's way more. It's way more than just being caught up in a fad. I mean, we all get caught up in, especially popular culture, hit TV shows or popular music of your youth, right? All of that. That's different. That comes at you sort of uninvited. That sort of thing sort of just permeates you without your permission, for good or for ill, either way. No, what I'm talking about, the kinds of things in your life that you become passionate about, they're more like chance meetings, or maybe a friend introduces you, and then you fall in love, because that's what it is. It's like falling in love with a person, but instead you're falling in love with an activity or an idea, a way to be in the world. But in order to fall in love, you have to meet, right? And it's different for everyone. Everyone has their own different passions. Maybe it's gardening or cooking, something you picked up through your heritage, your family, your parents. Or camping and hiking. I know some in my family are way into that. Some academic pursuits, science, history. Maybe you're way into sports. More than just being the casual fan, but it's the thing that identifies you. It could be, any one of a million things. For me, my passions were almost entirely in the arts. And I know it's nothing really unusual. A lot of people find their passion in the arts. I was thinking back because this really took me down a road. I sort of obsessed over this a little bit. By the way, a little side note. I had a social media friend who was not happy with the word obsessed and said we should stop using it. And because he said it's a negative thing. An obsession is a disorder. It's a sickness in some way. And I got his point, but I think the word itself, it's really more of a problem of language than of anything else. I think people use the word obsessed to mean kind of what I'm talking about. I'm passionate about something. I'm engulfed in it. I'm swept away by it. Those are good things. That can be an awful lot of fun. It can be very enriching, very fulfilling. So I just caught myself using the word obsessed, and I want to make sure we all know, including my social media friend, I mean that in the most positive way. So, maybe he's right. Maybe we should make an effort to not use the word obsessed and to find better language. All right, so enough of that little sidetrack. What was I talking about? Oh, my obsessions, my passions. I jotted down a little list. One of my earliest, and you and I have talked about this once before. We spent an episode talking about, or part of an episode talking about Charles Schulz and Peanuts. And as a very young kid, I was so enthralled in that comic strip. And I discovered very early on, and maybe I wasn't really aware of this until later, but what was happening was I was really relating to the sort of the deep philosophical underpinnings of those comic strips. Charles Schulz, and again, I probably couldn't define this until later in life, but as I look back, I realized what I was so drawn to. A deep sort of philosophical meandering. It wasn't didactic at all. It wasn't trying to tell me anything necessarily, I don't think. It was just a very real undercurrent. And as I spoke about in the previous episode, if you think Charlie Brown and Snoopy and the Peanuts gang were all just, good fun, then you should go back and check it out. There was something really happening there. And some of it may be even a little dark, if not nihilistic, at least existential, and sometimes absurdist. So that was, for me, that was one of the earliest thing I can think of that really got me. Like, oh my gosh, I totally identify. I am relating to this. I am passionate about this at a very early age. And then as I got a little older, the kind of stuff you read in school, that, they make you read it, the Red Badge of Courage and stuff like that. I tell you, I just fell in love with Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, John Steinbeck, and Jack London. Oh my gosh. Again, these are assigned readings, Grapes of Wrath, Call of the Wild, the poems and short stories of Edgar Allan Poe. And of course, Mark Twain, of course, Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. But oh my gosh, in love. And then here's the one that might surprise you. And I'd encourage you to make your list. Jot down a little list of the things that really you can count as passions. Meaning they, for a time at least, identified you or helped to identify you. They became really a part of you. And then the next one surprised me. I was in 10th grade. I took a nonfiction essay class with Miss Sukop. And for me, this was a mind-blowing, eye-opening experience. Oh, you can write like this? You can write a nonfiction essay? And we were reading things like cultural critiques and political essays and personal memoirs and just any kind of creative writing that was nonfiction. And up to that point, it just hadn't even occurred to me. I mean, journalism, of course, that I get. But this was something just brand new to me. Oh my gosh, fell in love. Classic film. Here we go. I mean, like Singing in the Rain. When I discovered classic movie musicals, all, of course, predating my birth, long before I was born, and you discover them in my day. In my day, I don't want to sound too old, but when I was a kid, of course, you discover things like this mostly through late night movies. You're old enough to stay up late, or you talk your parents into it. Just being up is the main point. Just not having to go to bed. And then the midnight movie is Singing in the Rain, or it's the Marx Brothers. Oh my God, the Marx Brothers, they killed me. So classic film from that time and through, I don't know, probably through my mid to late 20s. I just consumed all of it. Movie musicals, film noir, Dr. Strangelove, oh my God, changed my life. Bogart, Hepburn, Hitchcock, the great classic comedies. I mentioned the Marx Brothers, Chaplin. To this day, W.C. Fields, if you've never seen It's a Gift, the most brilliant piece of work ever put on celluloid. Oh my God. I watch it every couple of years. I pull it out. I've probably seen it 20 times. It's a Gift with W.C. Fields. And then I discovered, and again, these are all passions, more than just, oh, this I liked. These are things that I felt somehow this very deep kinship with. Radio theater, when I discovered that for the first time. Classic serials and series, comedies, and especially the classic radio theater, like Lux Radio Theater. And then more contemporary stuff. I've mentioned to you before Fire Sign Theater. Another passion that I discovered that I just got swept away by was music outside of my youthful pop music, right? As I said before, we all get caught up in that. There's no escaping it. You have the music of your youth, whatever's on the radio or these days, whatever's streaming, whatever's popular, the top 40 kind of stuff. But when I started discovering music outside of that realm, I was blown away. Jazz. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? The classic stuff, Coltrane, Armstrong. And then the more contemporary stuff, as I was growing up, Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea. There was just so much music. Talk about a discovery. There was just so much music outside of the stuff that was just constantly in my world, right? The kind of music you had to go find. Literally went to the library and checked out vinyl. Classical music. Like, what? I was in a band for most of my high school years and the couple years afterwards. For about, 6, 7, 8 years there, I was always in a band. And I'd listen to classical coming home. On the drive home from the gig. always turned on classical music. And that's really kind of how I discovered it. I just turned on the radio once and thought, okay, I can't listen to this stuff. It's just too much. I've just had 4 hours of this pounding in my ears. And I discovered just, I kind of turned the volume a little low and just turned on the classical station. And that's when I discovered that. Although I'm getting off track a little bit, it was never a passion. We're talking about passions right now. I'll tell you what did become a passion was when I discovered roots music. And by that, I cast kind of a wide net. The roots of rock and roll, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, that kind of stuff. Fell in love. Just fell in love. The doo-wop groups. Buddy Holly. Oh, my God. Those were moments of discovery. Those are more than just memories. Those are deeply embedded cultural moments of my life. And then my older brother, who turned me on to jazz, he was a trumpet player. So he's the one who introduced me to jazz. But he also introduced me, as he got older, he got into folk music, which is something I'd never even considered. And it kind of shocked me that he was into it. But that's when I discovered artists like Iris DeMent and, oh my God, Tom Waits at the time, because his early years, he had this great little fusion between, I don't know what you'd call it, but it was definitely Americana influenced with this urban jazz thing happening, but very much Americana. And quite often just very simple recordings with acoustic guitar or piano. Yeah, Tom Waits' early stuff was great. And then I'm ticking down here a little list I jotted of things I was passionate about, things that in the discovery of them was just so important. And triggered, of course, by what I started talking about, that I happened to see Singing in the Rain, the movie musical Singing in the Rain, the other night. And I found myself getting genuinely emotional. Like, I shed a few tears thinking about the early years of discovery. So, on my little jotted down list here, the next thing that came to mind was philosophy itself, just the idea of it. I mentioned that I think Charles Schulz and his work maybe planted the seed subconsciously. But there were, let's see, look at my list here. There were 2 movies, 1 television series, and 1 book. So these are the ones that really got me. 6 Great Ideas with Mortimer Adler. I mentioned this in a previous episode as well. 6 Great Ideas by Mortimer Adler. It's a seminar he conducted and a book he wrote, and then it was a series featuring Mortimer Adler and the seminar, a series by Bill Moyers on PBS. The 6 Great Ideas being truth, beauty, goodness, liberty, equality, and justice. And that just blew me away. Totally immersed in that. Oh, I felt like it was changing my life. And then a couple of movies. My Dinner with Andre absolutely knocked me out. There's another movie that I watch every couple of years. I pull it out and I watch it. I can't get enough. And it definitely impacted me in a very, very deep way. The other movie might surprise you. It's a movie called 1,000 Clowns. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, I'm sure I've mentioned it at least once or twice. Starring Jason Robards, about this television writer who's he is a nonconformist. And he's so fed up with the real world that he kind of retreats from it. But the problem is, he's the guardian of his young nephew. And so the system, the child services people, are requiring that he be a quote-unquote responsible person, that he get a job in order to keep his nephew, who he loves. He loves his nephew, Nick, and he doesn't want to lose him and have him sent off to a foster home. So it's his struggle. Murray is the main character, played by Jason Robards. Murray has to struggle with his own convictions, his own philosophy, if you will, as it conflicts with navigating the real world. Real in quotation marks. And it's a great piece of work, based on a play by Herb Gardner. And I think he also adapted it for film, if I'm not mistaken. So, so 6 Great Ideas, My Dinner with Andre, 1,000 Clowns, and then the book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is the greatest thing for a kid. Oh my gosh. If you read that book as a teenager, well, I don't know if age really matters, but yeah, it seems like one of those things that if you get to it as a teenager, it'll just put a knife right through you. Oh my God, it'll just get right to your heart. So those are the things that put me to philosophy. And then, so now I go to college. I decide to major in philosophy. And of all the things you might think an impressionable young person might get impressed by, the biggest for me was just standard logic, the mathematical formulas. It was like, the classic God's light shining through the clouds and the angels singing, if A, then B, A, therefore B. Oh my God, you can actually put this down in a formula? Truth is attainable? Oh, there was a moment of passion, a moment of discovery, a moment of absolutely falling in love. And from that point, then, education itself. I did fine in high school, but I mentioned a couple of authors who I particularly admired, but I wasn't completely wrapped up in education. It was just, it was just high school. It was all right. But then learning itself just took on a passion. I loved, and I bet we've all discovered this, right? In an educational setting, when you read something that you've already thought, in other words, You've had a particular idea or a notion about something, and then you read Socrates or Plato or Russell or anybody, and they've got your idea written in black and white, and written so clearly and succinctly, like you never could put it into words. And that moment of just absolute disbelief, I thought I was dreaming. It's like, wait a minute, that's my thought. I've had this very idea. And look, Hegel had the same idea. And not only that, he wrote it down so clearly that I can really understand it now. Hegel and I had the same idea about the dialectic. Oh my God. Oh, there are moments in life. There are such moments in life. While we're on education, the first time you really question your professor. Now, this doesn't work the same for everybody. Some people come in cocky or they're questioning right away. This from the first day. They sit in the back row and they're yelling their opinions. No, that wasn't me. I was much more timid. I was ready to learn, and my professors were all gods to me, and what I was learning was just amazing. But then comes the next moment when your professor says something you think is wrong. Oh my God. There's another come to Jesus moment. There's another God's light shining through the clouds. Oh, I can disagree with my professor. I can even disagree with what I'm reading. I don't think Nietzsche's got it quite right here. Oh, these are my passions. Everybody has different passions. And I'm going to recommend right now that you make a list of the moments in your life, the things in your life, the things you've discovered that brought great joy and passion and understanding, something you identified with to the point of it identifies you, right? This is who I am. I'm the person who does this. It redefines you. It defines you. Oh, yeah, make a list of your passions. After that, now I'm really discovering politics. Now I'm really discovering the world. Oh my God, Marx and socialism and communism, Emma Goldman and social anarchism. And with each new discovery, the first time I read Emma Goldman, Lord mercy, that was a moment. It's one of these moments. And so anyway, there's just a little partial list. I bet I could think of a few others, but those are the ones that really stand out as I thought about it. But now as I get older, it gets a little harder to have these moments. Because there's too much of, well, been there, done that, learned that, got the t-shirt, right? As you get older, you're not as easily impressed. Just because, all right, I've seen that. I'll see young writers, artists. It's like, okay, what you're doing is great. It's very good. And you have a lot of fans. And I think they're having their passionate moment with you. But no offense, I've seen this before. You know? Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention kind of already covered this ground. Lou Reed has already been there. So I don't really want to disrespect these artists. It's just that, I've been there. Okay. If you're serving your audience the way I was served by previous artists, I'm not criticizing you at all. But I'm not getting it. I'm not discovering anything. I'm not having any big moment with you. There's a lot of that as you get older. We're just not that easily impressed anymore. But I'm always looking. I'm absolutely open and willing and capable of having new discoveries. I'm trying to think, what was the most recent discovery I've had? I guess I'll have to get back to you on that. But music, film, politics, ideas, books. I'm always on the search, and I'm more than willing to be swept away by someone. Come sweep me away. But I'm older. It's harder. Youth is definitely an advantage here, to be sure. And that's why I always encouraged my own kids. They're grown now. But I always encourage them to explore. Just put one foot in front of the other. Say yes to experiences. Don't put yourself in a box. Don't limit yourself too early or ever. My greatest wish for my kids is that they find passions in life. And I hope that's working out for them. They're not completely, well, I don't know how you gauge. They're in their late 20s, early 30s. So I was still discovering plenty at that age. And I hope they are too. Next time I talk to them, I'll ask and I'll let you know. But yeah, man, passion, love for an idea, for some pursuit. And that discovery is really what I've been talking about. That first moment of discovery, or the first couple weeks or months, or even the first couple of years, they're so memorable. It is like falling in love with a person, right? If the love lasts forever or if it's fleeting, it doesn't really matter. But that meeting and the blossoming, that's always just unique. And even if the relationship fades over time, those memories remain. And they're more than just pleasant memories, right? If a relationship is real, a real relationship, it takes you to a deeper place. It actually shapes you or reshapes you. And it reshapes your understanding and your connection to the world at large. And that's the level I'm talking about. That's the level I'm talking about. That's passion. And in a weird way, it took me a minute to realize what was happening. That's what came over me while I was watching Singin' in the Rain the other night. More than just memories. More than nostalgia. It was this reconnecting. And it was this deep, deep gratitude for that passion that connects all of us to each other and to the world. Sitting here watching Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds sing the final song. He holds her in his arms, would you? He tells her of her charms, would you? And I'm just choking up. I'm just dying. I'm crying like a baby. And yeah, it's a good movie and it's a nice moment, but it was so much more than that. It was so much more. What a great thing. So, make a list. I encourage you. Make a list of your passions. Think about how they've changed you. And if somehow they've slipped away over the years, remember them. Like a great romance. At the very least, you'll have that wave of remembering that transcends memory and becomes true feeling, deep feeling. Have many passions. Explore them and hold them. All right. I love you. I'm Charles Bursell.